Right. All right, we are live, and I'm going to give it a minute for other people to jump on, and we can go ahead and get started. Okay, so thank you to those who are joining live right now. And also to those who are watching on the replay. I got several messages that people are. Just so that you know, I'm looking at two different screens. So if you kind of see me turn, then you have an idea of why of why I'm doing that. So anyway, thank you for joining. Today we're going to be talking about passions versus gifts. And I do get clients who come to me because they are either trying to find their purpose, trying to figure out what direction to go in. Should I even be using the things that I'm good at or gifted at, which are all really, really great questions. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about this. And what we're going to do is actually, break down a couple terms here. We're going to be talking about passion, talent, as well as gifts. And so it's interesting because we hear a lot about either pursuing your passion or pursuing the things that you're talented at. And when I was exploring this topic several years ago for myself, before I started to go into healing, I actually came across a video by none other than Steve Harvey, who gave a very different perspective on, on the whole thing. He basically said, don't pursue your passion. He said to pursue your gift. So for the purposes of the conversation, let's break down a couple of the terms. And when we go through this, just understand I'm not telling you here what to believe or to think. My job is to introduce something slightly differently so you can begin to see things from an energetic perspective. So hi, Ashley. Thank you for joining. I will message you later for yours. Okay. So thank you for joining. Thank you for all those joining on Instagram right now. Okay. So let's break down a couple of the terms and take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Okay. So when it comes to passion, passion is something that is lighting your fire at this moment. Okay, so I'm using very, very specific wording because passion can come and go. And if you're anything like me, you could be interested in a number of different things all at the same time, or perhaps, you are starting a business and maybe there's a lot of different things that you want to do all at the same time, which can actually make things very overwhelming and even a little bit confusing. Okay, so think of passion in terms of something that is even in the moment, okay? Talent is something that you're good at. You might not naturally off the bat be great at something, but a talent is something that you have this aptitude and you have the ability then to actually cultivate and grow it to turn it into something more, okay? Now, your gift is something that you are naturally good at. So it's something that, and this is also the reason why people will say that your gift is God-given, because it requires actually very little effort on your part. And gifts, though, they are extremely important because they're it's a necessary part of your path or your journey, where your gifts actually help you to become the person that you were meant to be, or the person that you were meant to express in this particular lifetime. So let me give you some examples, and I'll share with you my examples so you might have a better idea of how to discern these things in your life. So years ago, I was really passionate about running. I still enjoy it. I still do it, but it's not the focus that I used to have when I used to train for races. And so here's the thing. It's not a talent of mine. I was not born with a low heart rate. I got short legs, a short stride. Like, it doesn't matter like how much I would train for it. I would probably never break, a 6 minute, 4 minute mile. Like, I'm not going to turn into a Kenyan all of a sudden, right? But it's still something that at the time I was very, very passionate about. Everything was about running. So that's an example of a passion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that is always sustained. Okay. Now, when it came to a talent years ago, I did a lot of singing. I had several voice coaches over my lifetime. Like, I wanted to actually go into performing arts right out of high school, but that didn't happen. The voice coaches, they acknowledged talent and said, continue to grow it, continue to do it. But I always knew, like, there was no way that I was going to be of, that certain caliber where, like, Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey, they have a gift where they actually sound like there's music behind them, or they can move someone in a particular way where, just through the delivery of a melody, right? So again, that's an example of a talent. My gift that came naturally is in healing. I actually come from a line of healers on my mom's side of the family. And it's something where, like, whenever I tend to learn something new, embrace something new when it comes to healing, I actually feel like I've done it before. It was like a couple of years ago when I picked up a tarot deck for the first time. For whatever reason, I was just drawn to it, couldn't put it down, and I felt like it was natural. I felt like I've done it 1,000 times before. So when I work with my clients one-on-one and I spend a lot of time with them, it doesn't feel like a ton of effort. It doesn't feel like work. Like, I am enjoying every single second of it, even though there is work involved. It's very different. It feels more like inspired action. Okay. So I hope that helps to kind of break down what I'm trying to express here with those, what the differences are with those. So if you want, you can even put down, for those of you who are watching, what might be different things that you're passionate about. What are different things that, you're talented at, or do you even know what you're gifted at currently? Okay. And I will say this about gifts, though, because sometimes we tend to try to compartmentalize what the gifts are based on different things that people, quote unquote, do, or that they do with their hands, right? So, for example, if people will say, oh, well, my gift is in cooking, or my gift is playing a sport or a musical instrument. It doesn't always have to be in that kind of tangible way, even though those are particular gifts that people have. So maybe you are a networker or a connector, right? So maybe you have this gift of bringing people together and showing, connecting them with other people, where that's going to lead them more on their path. Maybe you have the gift of gab. Maybe you're a really great conversationalist, and maybe podcasting is your thing, or being a motivational speaker is your thing. Okay. Maybe your gift is in nurturing other people. Okay. So I don't want you to think that it has to be something where, oh my gosh, it's, the thing that's going to make me $1 million. Side note, don't ever do anything just for the money. Even the money will become a byproduct, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. Okay. So think of it this way. I'll give you the example of the nurturing thing. If you've ever heard of, and I'm probably going to like butcher his last name, Nicholas Vujicic. He's a motivational speaker, like an international motivational speaker. He was born without any limbs. And when you hear him talk, and you can look him up. If you hear him talk, I mean, he's brought me to tears just listening to his story and the things that he tells other people. He always talks about how his parents, like, absolutely loved him. Didn't matter what he looked like, or perhaps, you know, what they thought his limitations were going to be. They loved him and loved him hard. And so he talks about that. And so I think when I think about that, I think about how his parents probably had no idea, you know, taking care of him as an infant or a child, what he would end up becoming. Right. And so because they shared their gift, you know, of being unconditionally loving parents, he was able to impact millions of people, and they indirectly through him impacted millions of people. So think of it that way, like your gift has a ripple effect on people who you have no idea would even be impacted. You know, and I think about that too when, you know, when I work, you know, one-on-one with my clients, you know, and I end up working with their families, everyone else that they're around, you know, they are impacted as a result of the work that they do. So I want you to remember that when it comes to your gifts, because I'm going to tell you, you are all multi-gifted. Okay, so here are some questions to help you identify your gifts. If you have a pen and paper, write some of these down. You can always rewatch this later too if you forget what the questions are. But what did you enjoy doing as a child? You know, so what is it that lit your fire even as a child? Because sometimes those same things, even if they may not light your fire during your teenage years or as a young adult, it may end up returning. Okay, so when I was younger, I would take I would take my mom's like medical, I think it was like some sort of encyclopedia, and I was really fascinated with the eyeball and the word ophthalmologist because it had two H's in it, go figure. And I would play pretend that I was teaching about the anatomy of the eyeball. And, you know, and now it's like teaching is a huge thing of what I do. Second question, what can I do that I'm best at with little effort? Okay, so for me, for example, you know, my gift is in analytical awareness, being able to identify patterns in people's lives and seeing how, you know, to change the energy around those different things. Okay, so think about what do you do that again comes naturally, that it doesn't expend a lot of your own effort. Because if you can replicate that, replicate that, you know, that is key for your journey. What is one thing that people associate with me? So if people think about me, what do they attach, you know, to me? You know, so for me, it could be meditation, Reiki, tarot, any of those things, healing. Okay. Even pay attention to if people had certain nicknames for you, right? That's also something that I noticed in retrospect. Some of the things that people said that I was, it makes sense now. Okay. And the last question, what is something that keeps like repeatedly coming up in my life? So is there a particular situation, types of people, just something in general that it seems like no matter what you do, where you go, it keeps coming up for you? Okay, so notice what are repeated situations, themes that I can't seem to escape, because that's a sign, right? And I'm not going to get into like how I ended up becoming a healer now. It's a very long story, but let me just put it to you this way. When I was going through my own healing journey and, you know, really turned a corner with meditation and self-healing, and then decided I was going to explore energy healing, it was like so many doors ended up opening that I didn't even ask for. It was almost like the universe was pushing me, like gently nudging me in a particular direction, and there was no other way for me to, you know, to get around that. So hi Darko, thank you for joining. So so just think about that. Answer these questions, write them out. If you are still wondering about what your particular gifts are, then ask the question aloud. When you move energy from in here, okay, out, it changes form. It's really interesting. And that's also another key thing when it comes to affirmations and things. When you actually say them aloud, it changes form. So what then does your energy actually have to do with all these different things? The short answer is everything. Okay, so what I have seen and experienced myself is that some people can take something that they're passionate about and actually turn it into something that might deplete their energy. Okay, so, and I'll give you an example here in a second, but I want you to think of energy as your currency. Okay, because last week, we talked about, money being energy. We talked about the vibrational frequency of money. Imagine that every single day you have, let's throw a number out there, $100 worth in energetic currency. And you spend that currency with every single decision that you make. I don't care how small that decision is. Like, what is it that you're eating? What is it that you're wearing? How are you going to go about doing your workday? How are you going to be treating your family? Or are you going to be spending time with your family? You're going to be sitting in front of the TV. Every decision you make, you either waste or reinvest that energetic currency. It's either one of two things. And so the average person makes 35,000 decisions a day. Isn't that wild? 35,000 decisions a day, and you have an allotment of energy that you're using. Okay, so when it comes to your passion, when I was talking about how people can take something that they're really passionate about and waste their energy. So going back to the example with me in running, when I was a runner, there was a period of time where I was so focused on the training that it got to the point where I injured myself a number of times. Or if my training results did not meet my expectations and it would put me in a bad mood, that would filter in to my interactions with other people, into my relationship. I think I said before, like I was always talking about running, like there was no other topic of conversation. So think about how sometimes when you take something that you're really passionate about, and just like a fire that is uncontrolled, your passion can consume you in a negative way. And that's the reason why I would say don't use passion as your only sole criteria to figure out what you want to do. Because passion, if you have it for a particular thing that you want to grow or use it as a part of your path, it has to have directionality and even boundaries. Otherwise, it could end up consuming you in a very negative way. Whereas your gifts, if you're utilizing your gifts, that means that you're in alignment with yourself. You're grounded, you're centered. And as a result, you end up experiencing a flow. And that flow is the reason why when you're using your gifts, it feels rather effortless. Like I said, not that you can't have passion. That's not what I'm saying. But when you're using your gifts, there's inspired action. So even though there's work, it feels good to do the work. And when you end up sharing your gifts, then other people benefit and that energy gets reinvested into you. How? Through the feedback, the validation that you get, being able to see other people's lives change or transform as a result of your gift. And if this is something you're doing in service to others, there can be a monetary exchange. Okay, so if you add all these different elements together, because I would encourage you to take a look at this or write it out. What are you passionate about? You add passion to what you're good at, so the different talents that you may bring to the table, and then the gifts. So the things that actually come naturally to you that don't take up too much time or energy. When you put all those different things together, you can end up having a real powerhouse formula. So I would actually suggest to, write down in each of those categories what different things, apply to you. And you'll be able to see, okay, maybe I can really do something with this. And I use this context here because a lot of my clientele tend to be entrepreneurs too. Okay, so any questions on this so far before we get into the mini energy clearing? Thank you all for joining, especially on Instagram. Any questions? Okay. All right, so let's do the energy clearing. Now, if you've not done this before, kind of think of this more as like a guided visualization here that I'm going to take you through the energy centers, better known as the chakras of your body. And I'm going to be really explicit about where we're going. So it makes total sense. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Leandra, for that, for the feedback. Perfect. Thank you, Darko. Okay, so I'm going to be really explicit in the energy clearing of where you're going. So don't be afraid of getting lost or that you're afraid that you're going to do anything incorrectly. Just follow along as I take you through the energy centers of your body. Okay, and this, again, this is a mini clearing. If you've ever had energy work done, like Reiki or something like that done before, you might even feel certain sensations in your body. Some emotions might come up, a memory. All those things are very common. So, if you do feel anything, you can share that when we're done. But, we'll talk about the feedback. After that, I'll get into the vibrational check-ins. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and just go ahead and settle into your seat, taking an easy breath in and longer on the exhale. Really good. Relaxing your shoulders, your neck, and your jaw. As you're turning your attention inward, slowing down that heart rate, changing your brainwave state. And I want you to picture from the bottom of your spine, so right at that tailbone, you're going to send a grounding cord down into the center of the earth. And that grounding cord can be as wide as a softball, or you can widen it to the width of your hips. And you'll know that you get there. So just see, sense, and feel as you go down into the center of the earth. You'll know that you get there when you feel like you can't go any further, or you might even feel like a warmth or light or higher vibration. Okay, good. From the bottoms of your feet, so you're going to bring your awareness to the bottoms of your feet. And I want you to really imagine that your feet too are touching the ground in this visualization. Sending tree roots down from the bottoms of your feet, going into the earth. Spreading those out really, really far and wide. Imagine like they're kind of wrapping around the sides of the earth. And you're absorbing the earth's energy coming up through the bottoms of the feet, going up past your ankles, lower legs, upper legs, hips, and then it meets at that grounding cord, and now it's circling back down. So you can feel the earth's energy moving through the lower half of your body. Good. And now I want you to bring your attention to where the root chakra is. This is right at the perineum. Okay. So I want you to imagine like you're an onion, and you know how an onion has different layers. So imagine that you're in the center of that onion, and I want you to go out to the 30th layer. Now, the 30th layer, it's not like you have to count every single individual layer. Just imagine that you know where that is. It's around that root chakra area. You're going to pull in that 30th layer to the center. What we're doing is addressing what's called the worry circle, where the things that may make you feel anxious, nervous, worried, fearful. We're putting all of that in, we're pulling it to the center, and you're going to drop that down or release it down the grounding cord. So see, sense, and feel in your body as you're releasing that 30th layer down into the center of the earth. And you're not sending anything bad to the center of the earth. Don't worry, the earth has the ability to transmute energy. And now I want you to bring your awareness way above the crown of your head. And imagine that you know where the center of the universe is and you're pulling universal energy down. And it's going to meet up with what's called a stack of creative rings that sit above the crown of your head. If you want to know how many creative rings you have, you can message me later. But these rings represent your goals, dreams, intentions, the things that you actually came here to create in this lifetime. And that energy is recalibrating those things to your highest and best interest. Okay? So now as it goes through those rings, we come down to the crown chakra. Okay? And this is where it sits a couple inches above the top of your head. And I want you to go out to the third, the third layer. And you're going to pull that in to the center. And we're going to drop that down. What we're doing here is we're clearing permission to discover and share your gifts. Discover and share your gifts. So that basically goes down through the spine area, or what's also called the pranic channel, and it goes down into the center of the earth. Now go down to the center of your head. This is at the third eye. Go out to the third layer. I'm going to read off a number of beliefs, thoughts, mindsets. So for example, I'm not gifted or talented. Other people are better or more worthy than me. If I share my gifts, I'll be viewed as weird or odd. I can't make money with my gifts, or no one will pay me for my gifts. I don't know what my gifts are. I'm not special or unique. I'm invisible. No one can see me. Or being proud or standing out is a bad thing. So pulling that third layer in to the center. It's big energy here. And you're going to drop that down. All the way down the grounding cord, seeing, sensing, feeling how that is in your body as you release that. Third layer at the third eye one more time. You're going to pull in, not having that clarity. So pulling that in and then release. Really good. Now we're going to go down to the throat center. So you're behind your cervical spine. Go out to the third layer. We're going to clear the fear of talking about your talents or gifts, sharing them in a verbal manner. So we're going to pull that into the center and then release. Good. And going down to the heart. And we're going to go out to the third layer. And we're going to clear any judgment of yourself. So basically thinking your gifts aren't good enough. Let's pull that in to the center and then release. Good. And third layer one more time at the heart. We're going to clear any fear of vulnerability. Okay, so it's almost like being afraid to give. So we're pulling that in to the center and release. Good. Nice work. And then going down to the solar plexus. So at the stomach, okay, behind the stomach, third layer, we're going to clear any fear of acting outside of the comfort zone. Okay, so pulling that into the center and release. Good. And out to the 15th layer at the stomach area, we're going to pull this in too. This is collective control energy, which can actually make you feel like you can't share your gifts, not being motivated to even find them, feeling a little bit down on yourself. So pulling that in and then releasing. Good. And then going to your sacral. So this is the area between your navel and hips. Okay, we're going to go out to the second layer. We're going to clear any anger at having your gifts suppressed, being told you can't do that, being told that's not, no one's going to pay attention to that. So pulling that in and then releasing. Good. And then third layer at the sacral, we're going to clear any blocks to your creative energy. So pulling that in to the center and then release. Good. All right, now we're going back down to the root chakra. So again, remember you're right there at the perineal area. Expand the third layer. So we're going to clear any fear of humiliation, fear of success, fear of failure, fear of lack of support, fear of criticism, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear of being unlovable, and fear of commitment. So pulling all of that in at the root to the center and then release. Really good. So now as that universal energy has come down the back of the spine, it's mixing with Earth's energy at the bottom. And that 50-50 mixture is coming up in the front of the spine, going past the sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, crown, rings, and like paint over a balloon, it's going to come up and over your energetic field, or otherwise known as the aura. It's immersing through all the layers of the aura as it's coming down. Okay, going past your legs and then attaches at the grounding cord below your feet. All right, very good. And now we're going to take care of what's called the circle of reciprocity. So take the upper chakra energies, the heart, throat, third eye, crown, and rings. We're going to compress that, and it's going to go through the right shoulder. So into the right arm. So going through the upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist. If you want, you can put your fingertips together. That energy is going to go through the fingertips and palm over to the left side. The left side is the feminine side or receiving side, and that is going through that left arm, coming up the upper arm, shoulder, dropping down into the chest, wrapping around the front and back of the heart, up front and back of the throat, up front and back of the third eye, through the crown and rings, and up and over the field. Nice work. Okay, so you can let me know how that feels for you. If you want to type that in, or you can, or if you're watching this on the replay, to go ahead and do that. In my individual sessions, I work on additional energies that make a really big difference, but that's where I kind of more pinpoint things for you. So, if you're interested in that, let me know. I also do a monthly abundance clearing, which, is a great way to kind of join in with a group to do a more comprehensive one. And we also talk about either principles or techniques around abundance. And the next one is it's tomorrow. It's tomorrow night at 6:30. Central Standard Time, you can check on my website for that too, under plans and pricing. So if there's no other questions, I am going to do the check-ins, and I'm doing this in order of payment. So for, like I said, for Ashley, I'm going to message you later to do yours separately. Okay. So first, we're gonna do Grace's vibrational check-in, and again, I'm going through the chakras here. So, and you can, and even though this isn't yours, you can feel free just to follow along and just see if you feel like you need to clear around the same things too. That's completely fine to sit in on someone else's check-in. Okay. So if you go to the crown, okay, and you can tell if this even pertains to you too, because I talk about what exactly we're clearing. So for Grace, crown, third layer, we're going to clear permission to be who you are. So pulling that third layer into the center and release. Because Grace, you are multi-talented, multi-gifted, okay? So, please remember that. I know that you know it, but I'm telling you again. So at the third eye, expand the third layer, please, okay? Because we're going to clear any fogginess or lack of clarity on the gifts. I know that you're already trying to process this. So let's pull in that third layer at the third eye, and then we're going to drop that down. So for those of you just joining now, I'm doing the vibrational check-ins right now, but you feel free to clear the same things if you feel like it applies to you. So third layer at the third eye, Grace, I'm going to read off a couple of different mindsets, beliefs, or thoughts, such as I have to do things one particular way. Making what I love a business will change how I feel about it. Okay. I don't excel in one particular area. That's a false belief. Okay. I have to do what other people like. That's not necessarily true either. It's more about what other people need. Okay. So I also feel that spirituality and money should be separate. Okay. Doesn't have to be the case either. So let's pull that in from the third layer to the center and release. Good. Okay, so continue to breathe and release on that one. And then we're going to go to the throat for you, Grace. Third layer, we're going to clear the fear of asking an exchange of money for a service that you provide. Okay, so pulling that in to the center and then release. Good. And down at your heart, third layer, let's clear disappointment. Pulling that in and release. 10th layer for you, Grace, at the heart. This is where you connect to the spiritual realm. So let's pull in any blocks to that connection to the center of the heart. Release. Dropping that down, seeing, sensing, feeling, because this is where you're going to also get a lot of insight. We need to have an open heart, as well as feel like we are connected to everything there, that's around us, where we receive a lot of wisdom and additional information. Grace, also too, that circle of reciprocity that we just did, I want you to make sure that that left arm is open. Don't block any blessings that come your way. Okay. So going down to the solar plexus for you, Grace, third layer, we're going to clear any proving energy. Okay. Because you don't have to prove your gifts. That's something that is, the results just speak for themselves. So pulling in that third layer at the solar plexus and then release. Good. And then going down to your sacral. So second layer, let's clear the wounded masculine energy here. where it becomes like more focused on the doing versus the being. So pulling in that second layer to the center and then release. Good. Okay, down at the root, Grace, expand the third layer, please. Let's clear fear of success, fear of creating something of your own, fear of taking responsibility, fear of commitment, fear of lack of support, and fear of being seen or heard. Okay, so we're pulling that in and then down. Okay, so let me know how that feels. I want to remind you too to continue to make sure that you're clearing out your space. So remember from the live I did 2 weeks ago on energetic boundaries, I feel the need to tell you to clear anything out that is not yours. Okay. I want you to also check on your energetic cords and release those, but I'll send you a message because we need to clear a couple fear entities for you too. So I'll send you a quick message on that. All right. Okay. So the next person I'm doing the check-in for is Jeff. Okay. So go to your crown, Jeff, third layer. We're going to clear permission to move to the next level. So let's pull in that third layer at the crown and release. Permission to move to the next level. You don't need permission for that. The crown is all about your own personal sovereignty. If you haven't picked up on that already, we need to be our own sovereign beings. So third eye, Jeff, third layer, expanding the third layer. We're going to clear, my book won't garner the attention that I thought. I doubt my coming success. I'm not good enough. I won't be able to replace my income. I don't see my future very clearly, or I fear being seen or not being fully seen. So pulling all of that in to the center and then release. Good. Seeing, sensing, feeling. Okay, seventh layer at the third eye. Let's clear not seeing yourself in your success. It's a really interesting energy that I pick up with this, Jeff, because it almost feels like you see the success, but it's almost like you don't see yourself in the picture of success. You want to blend those two things together. It feels like, I don't know of another term, but it almost feels like it's an alternate reality. But remember that we can jump. So blend those things, pulling in that seventh layer and then releasing. And going down to your throat, third layer, clear the fear of being heard by a very large audience. Okay, pulling that in to the center of the throat and then release. Going down to your heart, third layer, let's clear self-judgment, pulling that in and down. Really good. Solar plexus, Jeff, third layer. Let's clear any people pleasing. So pulling that in to the center, release. And one more time at the third layer, clearing any unhealthy boundaries. So pulling that in and down. Good. Sacral, second layer, we're going to clear anger at having your dreams criticized or questioned. Okay, so pulling that in, that second layer in at the sacral and down. Good. And I want you to also go out to the 15th layer here at the sacral. When we bring that layer in, I want you to pick up the second layer too. This is clearing any blocks to your creative energy. Okay, so pulling that in and down. Excellent. And root, third layer, we're going to expand that layer, clear the fear of success, fear of losing people, fear of confrontation, fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of not being fulfilled, or fear of not fulfilling your purpose. Bringing all of that in and down. So one thing I want to add here for you, Jeff, let's clear mom's energy from your field. So I want you to go down to your root, okay? Go down to your root, go out to the third layer. We're going to pull that in and we're going to go up. So up to the sacral, pull in the second layer, up to the solar plexus, pull in the third layer, up to the heart, third layer, throat, third layer, third eye, third layer, and crown, third layer. Moving all of this up, this big energy here, up through the crown and out. Okay? So let me know how that is for you, Jeff. You can message me later. And we're going to move on to Tara. Okay, so Tara, please go to your crown, third layer. We're going to clear the permission to create my life. Okay, so pull that in. Again, if you're joining now, you can also do the same. You can follow along. Third layer to the center, drop it down. Good. Go out to the, go to the third eye, go out to the third layer, expand this third layer, Tara. And we're going to clear some things like I doubt myself. What if I make a mistake? What if I can't handle it, or I'm not prepared for the next thing? What if I don't measure up? There's also this element, I feel like, of running out of time, like you're trying to beat the clock. So pull all of that in, okay, to the center. Third layer, really focus and see, sense, and feel as you drop this down. Good. And then I want you to go out to the 15th layer at the third eye. We're going to pull in any fogginess, not seeing things clearly, or just not having that clarity that you want, and release. Good. And down at the throat, third layer, we're going to clear the fear of asking for exactly what you want. Okay, this is a whole thing of, like, if you feel like you're compromising, you might have like a frog in your throat type of sensation. Pulling in that third layer at the throat and releasing. Good. And the heart, third layer, self-criticism. Let's pull that in to the center and release. And third layer, one more time, at the solar plexus. Let's clear any blocks to intuition. So let's pull that in to the center and release. Third layer at the solar plexus, lack of confidence. Let's pull that in to the center and release. And sacral, so between the navel and hips. Second layer, let's clear any wounded feminine energy here, which can really put you more into alignment with your higher self. So pulling in that second layer and then release. And then third layer at the sacral, let's clear any anger. For the term that I felt the need to write down here for you, Tara, was like pigeonholed. Like you were, you feel like you want to break out of a particular mold, but it feels like you're being kind of put in one particular area and you want to come out of that. So pull in that third layer at the sacral and then release. Good. And then going down to the root, expand the third layer, and we're going to clear fear of regret or disappointment, fear of success. So it's the whole feeling of like, what if I don't belong here? What if I'm out of my league? Fear of taking responsibility, fear of the unknown, fear of being an imposter, and fear of staying the same. So pulling those fears in to the center of the root and down. Good. So let me know how you feel with that one, Tara. There's one additional thing I want you to try on. So imagine with your eyes closed, like you almost have like 9 different TV screens all in front of you. Okay. All of these represent the different paths, different options that you have. And right now, let's say you're living in that lower left screen. Okay. Now, what I want you to picture is like you're bringing your awareness, your attention to these different screens that have different possibilities for you. And I want you to see where the one that you want, the one that you know for certain you want to see, it's almost like you bring your energy, your focus, your attention there. And imagine like that screen now becomes the biggest one. All the other screens fall away. And now you are viewing this particular future that you want. And I want you to see how that feels. Almost like the energy of that gets really, really big in front of you. And just notice and feel what that is like. The reason why I'm suggesting that you try this on is because in reality, everything outside of our energetic field is almost like a screen playing a particular thing that we're experiencing. So I kind of use that example in a different way too, but I want you to try that on and let me know how that feels. Okay, so last person here, Leandra. Okay, your check-in. I want you to go to your crown and go out to the 3rd layer. Okay, we're going to clear permission to be my limitless self. Okay, so I want you to pull that in from the 3rd layer and you're going to drop that down. You're an empath. When you ask about your spiritual journey, I really feel like you've been looking at a lot of where things are coming from for you. Like, where did I come from? Where did this particular mindset? Like, I feel like you've done some work on yourself, which is awesome. Okay, don't stop doing that. Go out to your 3rd eye, 3rd layer, and we're going to clear a couple things here, such as I can't change what has been passed down to me. I can't be who I am. Like, I almost get this sense, this feeling, almost like you're locked in. And there's also, and you can let me know if this is true or not. It almost kind of feels like a disconnect with your body. Okay. And I've had a number of clients who've described the same thing to me. So don't freak out over that, over feeling that. That's actually a very common thing for empaths, especially. So we're also going to clear, I'm trapped in this body. I am not at home. My home isn't here. Okay. Or feeling confused or not sure what to do next. Let's pull all of that in at the 3rd layer to the center and then release. Good. And then down at the throat, 3rd layer. Okay. I want you to clear fear of speaking up for yourself, pulling that in and then down. Okay. And then 10th layer at the throat. Okay. This is your connection to the spiritual realm. Pull that in. Okay. Because I feel like you might even hear, messages, you might hear direction. So you want to really be in tune with that and dropping that down, clearing any blocks to that connection. Okay, so now go down to your heart, 3rd layer. We're going to clear guilt. So pull that in and down. And then third layer one more time at the heart, so disappointment. So let's pull that in to the center and then release. So it's interesting what I'm feeling here for you, Leandra, the guilt and disappointment. It's almost connected to how you might not feel connected to others because you've been doing your work. That's a whole vibrational frequency thing, by the way, when you feel like you don't connect with the people that you always used to, because of your growth. It's just something that tends to kind of happen organically without you even trying. Okay, solar plexus, third layer, we're going to clear any unhealthy boundaries. So pulling that in and then dropping that down. If you didn't see my video on energetic boundaries 2 weeks ago, I'd encourage you to check that out so you can sense what that is, or know what that is for you. And then third layer, one more time with the solar plexus, any powerlessness, pulling that in and down. Good. And then down to your sacral area between the navel and hips, go out to the second layer. So any anger at what you're discovering or what you feel of your gifts have been suppressed, pulling that in and then down. So releasing that, seeing, sensing, feeling what that's like in your body as you drop that down the grounding cord. And then going down to your root chakra. So third layer, we're going to clear a number of fears here. So fear of losing people, fear of being different or being seen as weird, fear of change, fear of the unknown, fear of your own greatness, and then fear of being unlovable. So bringing that in and then down. Really good. Okay. So, Leandra, let me know. You can message me. Let me know how that is for you. And thank you again all for joining in on the discussion. Again, you can message me if you have any additional questions. I will be on live again next week at the same time, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm over here in Texas, by the way. So any other questions, feel free to message me. Like, share, subscribe. Anyone else who you feel needs to hear this video, please feel free to share. And I will be catching you next time. Thank you for joining.